Hey everyone, my name is Tawny Platis. I'm a professional voice actor, and today I want to talk to you about something that's been weighing on me for a while now, and it could potentially spell disaster for the way we consume content and the things we love. And I'm not saying this is the end, but it definitely feels like it might be the end.
This is the end.
If you're a fan of movies, TV shows, or literally any work of on-screen fiction, then you've probably noticed at some point there are always these extremely polarizing conversations happening around certain pieces of media. People are arguing over it to the point that you might not want to even bring up your favorite shows and movies to others because it might start a whole controversy and you'd rather just avoid it entirely. Now, some people are going to say that this is due to the increase in the standards for political correctness in works of fiction.
Girls get it done.
Other people are going to make a point that it's immoral to watch a piece of media that stars someone who is actually problematic in real life, and while there's some valid criticism in both of these claims, I believe the reason everyone's favorite TV shows and movies are becoming so polarizing because there is a sharp decline in something called media literacy. Media literacy is the ability to take a work of fiction and derive its intention in a metaphorical sense. When you're watching a movie or a show, you're not being told directly in most cases that something is good or bad. You're being shown through the on-screen actions of the characters. So you have to look at their words and actions and the consequences of those actions, and then the message of that story is left for the audience to interpret for themselves. Are these people good or bad? Are they right or wrong? What did they do that was heroic or villainous? Or are they writing a line somewhere in between all those things? That's up for the audience to decide. In some cases, a story will tell you what the moral of the story was, but usually that comes in the form of a tongue-in-cheek joke where a character is breaking the fourth wall in order to satirize lazy writing. But a good story will not have to tell you what it meant. A well-crafted story will simply show you what happens and you'll understand what the author's intent was. A show like BoJack Horseman tells you the story of a man spiraling into a generational pattern of abuse, addiction, and depression, and fans idolize the character because he was a charismatic protagonist, which was the opposite of what the creator intended, and that heavily influenced the writing of its final seasons. And in the show Hazbin Hotel, there's a relationship between two characters that is portrayed as being overtly abusive in every way, and yet audiences continue to romanticize this dynamic, and they've created a frankly disturbing amount of fan art. And these are just a couple of examples of audiences either not interpreting or completely ignoring the point of a narrative. There's also been this growing trend lately of people weaponizing controversial aspects of a story to engage in moral grandstanding. There are a ton of articles and videos that gain traction because they oversimplify some piece of media and cherry-pick all of its most controversial subjects until collective outrage takes over and people decide they're never going to see it because they heard someone who didn't like it describe it poorly in under 30 seconds while they promoted a face moisturizer. And in most cases, that's not how you're meant to view a piece of fiction. Most media is not intended to be digested in a 1 or 2 paragraph long critique. There is a lot of TV and film that depict controversial things, and they're also poorly crafted, and in those cases there's an argument to be made around the author's intentions being to simply show you something shocking. And there is a lot of media that is not for everyone and may be personally triggering to some people, but the conversations we have about it are becoming so binary and sensationalist that we end up avoiding the author's intentions entirely and focusing on anything that we can potentially interpret as negative. Writing a fictional character doing bad things is not the same as endorsing the behavior or engaging with it. In fact, most of the time it's done specifically so the audience will have a deeper understanding of the morality and intent behind the character. We should be able to tell a character is monstrous because they do monstrous things, not because they introduce themselves to the audience as a monster. The character of Walter White would not come across as a horrible person if we didn't see him doing horrible things. He would just be the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. What makes Walter White an iconic character, especially in the early seasons, is this shockingly depraved behavior he was willing to engage in to make money to leave to his family since he was living on borrowed time. These were the good intentions that paved the way to a very relatable, complex, everyman character who became a power-hungry drug lord. But a lot of people don't have a problem with Walter White. Everyone seems to understand that selling drugs and running over dealers in a hatchback is a work of fiction. But when it comes to fictional romance, intimacy, and abuse, that is where a lot of people decide to draw a line. And the problem isn't the personal revelation that some subject matter might not be for them, but the insistence that it shouldn't have been created in the first place because it uses behavior they find reprehensible to tell a story. The movie Poor Things has run into heavy online criticism for using those kinds of dark themes to paint its narrative. and most of the criticism you hear amounts to basically, it made me uncomfortable. A lot of real-life situations are not comfortable. There often isn't a binary solution to complicated issues, and most real-world problems can't be solved with a tweet or a Snapple cap's worth of information. And trust me, I get it doesn't feel good to be uncertain, and some feelings are really complicated, like being in a relationship with someone who's doing bad things. Some art attempts to address that and give the audience a momentary window to view the perspective of someone who is trapped in that kind of situation, and it can be cathartic for people who have been through a similar situation and eye-opening for people who haven't. Some art will ask you to sit with an uncomfortable feeling while something bad happens in order to effectively communicate a point. And if you don't like that, that's totally fine. You are absolutely allowed to want to have your movies be like a theme park ride, just taking you on a fun trip and dropping you back off to where you started. Most of us like fun action movies or superhero films, at least sometimes. Nobody's asking us to go on a thought-provoking journey with a teenage girl that has the same horrible things happening to her as real teenage girls every day. That expectation doesn't even come with the price of admission. But when you sit down in a theater, you have made an unspoken agreement to meet an artist somewhere in the middle between your own preconceived notions of how the world should work and the story they aim to tell. You have made an agreement to be responsible for your own feelings for 90 minutes while someone attempts to weave a narrative. And I think by now most of us know that a lot of pop culture is reactionary. Between things like eye-catching news headlines that promise controversy and out-of-context 20-second clips that float onto your suggested page and even full bad faith opinion pieces that aim to spark outrage for the sake of clicks, there is an undeniable puritanical scrutiny aimed at any piece of media that attempts to address uncomfortable and often highly relatable situations. And if we never address uncomfortable topics, then we miss an opportunity to have meaningful conversations about those uncomfortable topics. Seeing a potentially traumatizing dynamic play out in a piece of cinema is just as much of an opportunity for reflection as it is a necessary part of telling a story that reflects a darker lived experience. A bad person can be charming and attractive. A caring person can be needlessly cruel. And people who care deeply about doing the right thing can often be the reason we lose these deeper, more nuanced understandings of human nature. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, drop a comment, and if you haven't already, tap that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you're still around, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching my stuff. I just got this really cool award for hitting 100,000 subscribers, and as of this recording, over 136,000 of you are now following me, which is absolutely wild and something I honestly didn't think would ever happen. It really means the world to me, and despite my job being talking for a living, I really don't have the words to express how grateful and just absolutely tickled I am that you enjoy my videos. I'm also in a new series that's called House on the Outlands, which is being produced by the animation studio Make Original Series, and it's premiering this month. I included the link in my description below so you can check it out. I play Harmony's mom, and I'm so excited to be a part of a project that's as lovingly and beautifully created as this one. And I'm going to be in a movie premiering next month called Garbage People, which is based on the show of the same name by Britt Tobin. You can watch the series right now on Tubi, and I'll let you know when the movie is theatrically released as well. I play the character called Sophie, which means sophisticated bot, and it's really funny. I had an absolute blast working with Britt and the rest of the crew, and I really hope you like the movie. And lastly, my in-home studio that I've been working on for I think years now is in the final weeks of renovation, so pretty soon I won't be in an isolation booth anymore. I'll be in a really pretty professional studio, so if you want to see what that looks like, be sure to check back here and on my other socials. And I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me and celebrating all these exciting things and just being along for the ride and watching my videos. It's been so much fun. I'll see you soon.